was just expecting so much more from England rather than Ireland. We all know that Ireland can keep the ball for long periods and score nice tries, and it was a little bit clunky, a bit like the Italian game at home as well. It wasn't free flowing. Their set piece, especially their line out, they give away a few penalties, a knock on at the back by Peter O'Mahony, an overthrow or two by Dan Sheehan. So it was just like small details that need to be tidied up from an Irish perspective. But from an English perspective, like I think they kicked the ball 18 times in the first half alone. And like you look at stats after games, teams are maybe kicking the ball out of hand 18 times in 80 minutes and not 40. So like it's as an English fan sitting in their house, watching on the sofa, like you're bound to be nearly falling asleep watching it when your team has the ball because they're just kicking the leather off it and getting their kick chase and hoping that the opposition make mistakes and a little bit maybe like you could say with Joe Smith a number of years ago, but all their kicks they're not even contestable kicks, they're just launching them long and at least Ireland under Joe Smith, they contested for absolutely everything and played the different areas of the pitch pretty well. But it's a different ball game under Andy Farrell, and the boys are going out and playing some nice rugby. And I think the game against Italy was okay. The game against England was probably a bit better. And now we're hoping against Samoa this weekend that it's going to go up another couple of notches, and then we really do hit the ground running in France. I think if you asked people about the process, the protocols, for a lot former players who have, like myself, have actually been through those as well. It differs every single time. Why can't we have the same process in place? And people might argue, oh well, a high tackle is different from somebody throwing a punch, like, and that's fair enough. But it's the timing, the time that it's taken to get into these decisions, and even like we heard that Owen Farrell's um, the process started at like 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. And like we weren't getting answers until that evening. Like, and you're going, like, how can it take this long to go through these processes and protocols to come up with finally was probably the right decision in the end, but it should have been what 10 days prior to that he got given the ban. England could have moved forward. There wouldn't have been the Steve Borthwick wouldn't have been answering questions every single press conference about Owen Farrell and the ban and the overturned from Six Nations by World Rugby to overturn the ban. And yeah, it was just an absolute mess, wasn't it? It really was an absolute mess. And I think everybody can agree, some English fans might disagree, that the final decision in the end was probably the right one. However, why couldn't we have gotten to that decision 2 weeks prior? And a bit like the Billy Vunipola one, he got banned 3 weeks straight away. He's going to go to tackle school. He's going to get reduced to 2 weeks. He's going to miss a game this weekend. Miss the first game of the Rugby World Cup, and then he's free to play. And like everybody's like, okay, we're happy enough for that. Missed time tackle against Andrew Porter, a little bit high, and we all move on from it. But the saga and the circus, as Andy Farrell referenced around his son Owen Farrell, was a joke, and that's something that we cannot get into in a Rugby World Cup, and we cannot have two or three high tackles, and for this process to continue on that long, and then for it to be overturned, or because Owen Farrell was going to be trialed until proven guilty, like everybody wanted him hung, drawn, and quartered. And when he got off scot free, that's when the mob mentality started, and the personal attacks and everything else. So yeah, I think we could have avoided a lot of that, and Six Nations Rugby could have avoided not a lot of that if they had have served them with the right ban in the first place, and then everybody could have moved forward. Do you know what? I think it's a stronger team on paper than I thought was going to be named. I thought Andy Farrell might have used the likes of Jacob Stockdale as well. Didn't expect like Keelan Doris is going to have played in all three of the warm up games, starting in two of them, and he's packing down at number 8 with Josh van der Fleer and Ryan Baird. A really good trio in the back row. So it's a strong side. Ian Henderson and Tag Byrne. I suppose we've seen Ian Henderson, Joe McCarthy. We've seen Tag Byrne, and we're going to see Ian Henderson and Tag Byrne this weekend. And then last weekend, we obviously seen Tag Byrne and James Ryan. So just the combinations slightly different. Subtle changes by Andy Farrell. the front row, I think, they're protecting the likes of Farrell and Andrew Porter, and rightly so. Rightly so, especially in a game like this. You want those two lads fit. And Murray hasn't played an awful lot this last year and a half, and I think it's good to get a bit of game time into his legs. And even watching the game last weekend, I was chatting to Jerry Flannery during the match, and we were saying the pace and the tempo that Gibson Park plays with. Conor Murray isn't that type of player, but Craig Casey is as well. So when it comes to making a bench decision for Andy Farrell, is he going to keep the pace and the energy in the game with bringing on Craig Casey, or is he actually going to build a lead or try and build a lead and then protect that a bit more with more strategy kicking and with Conor Murray, and that's a big call to have to make. So I think it's a huge game for Conor Murray this weekend in particular, because he's under a bit of pressure. Gibson Park we know is number one, but who's number two? And the other question is, who's Johnny Sexton's number two? I think after last weekend we were all thinking that Ross Byrne, this was his opportunity, but he didn't play brilliant and he didn't play poorly, and we're all sitting going, well, the week before Crowley didn't play brilliantly and he didn't play poorly either. So it's up for grabs, and Crowley get his opportunity this weekend. So we'll see how he goes. But yeah, it's a very strong Irish side, very very strong. Man of the match from last week, Matt Canton on one wing, Keith Earls, the 100 cap hero from last week, he's in the other. McCluskey and Henshaw, two huge guys in the midfield. So you're fully expecting Ireland to get the right result. And a resounding victory of between 20 and 25 points, I'd say. I suppose it's the split between the backs and the forwards. Where is that going to be? Different nations are going different ways about it. I would always pick an extra forward instead of an extra back, and many back rows is he going to take as well? Ryan Baird, so your four sort of Josh van der Fleer, Keelan Doris, Peter O'Mahony, and who's the other one? Doris van der Fleer, Peter O'Mahony, Ryan Baird, Cian Prendergast, and
Conan.
is he going to? Yeah, sorry, Jack Conan, because he's been out injured. There's six lads that they're probably going to take. I think in the 2011 Rugby World Cup when I was there, it's always good to actually, like, when you're running team plays, to have the same amount of back row forwards on the pitch as well, because they're obviously targeting the breakdowns. And you're able to work really well against three other guys. So I think he probably will take six back rowers. It comes to the back three. Jimmy O'Brien, very versatile player, can play all over. I think he's going to be in there. Jacob Stockdale, I know he was tried out at fullback for a while before he got injured at tail end of last season. That sort of didn't pan out, and then he's been moved back to the wing, and he's been playing okay since been moved back to the wing. But he's not even in the 23 this weekend, and we've heard that Andy Farrell probably has a squad pick before this match in his head and with the rest of the coaches. And if you're nowhere near this 23, then I think your chances are slim to none. The other one that I was a little bit worried of was Stuart McCluskey. Because Bundy Aki is probably the starting 12. Robbie Henshaw, unbelievable 12. And then Jack Crowley come onto the pitch last week and played 12. And I was like thinking, geez, Stuart McCluskey can only play 12. And they've got three guys there that can step into that role and be very good. So he's on the team sheet this weekend. He's starting at 12. I'd be really intrigued to see how him and Henshaw go this weekend. We've seen that, McCluskey and Aki got exposed a few times against Italy in the Six Nations away from home, especially in that outside channel. So we'll see if Robbie Henshaw can make a difference to that defence. But yeah, a few tight calls. Is Tom Stewart going to go? The rumor around Dan Sheehan that he's a busted foot. How long is that going to take to recover? So yeah, there's a few tight calls, but unfortunately for me, I think it's maybe one or two of the Ulster men that might miss out.